And it was only when I was at for the last 5 minutes with nobody hearing anything I was saying or seeing anything I was doing. Yeah, and actually I kind of kept going and got to the end of that video. So now I'm going to have to try to remember every single thing that I said about this perfume. Ricardo says, Mr. P, sorry for the hiccups. Well, you definitely don't need to apologize. It's not your fault. The connection froze right as you were talking about the specific aldehydes used by Chanel. I was really enjoying your thoughts too. How am I going to be able to remember everything that I said? Okay. One thing that I need to say is that I had planned to do 2 videos today, but there isn't going to be time for a second video now because this is the second video effectively. So we'll have to see when we can come back with the other one. Joanna's here saying hello again, Persolaise, and everyone. You get the first comment for this one. Fingers crossed. In the last few minutes, I also went online to see if there are any issues with YouTube, and no reported issues apparently. So let's just go. And I'm sure once I start, I will be able to remember all of the amazing nuggets of wisdom that I shared with the void. Okay, so as I say, thank you very much for tuning in, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do consider doing so. And if you would like to find out how you can support my work, you should be able to see a link to my Ko-fi page in the video description below. But let us get going. Single perfume review episode, because this is the kind of release about which we usually have got lots and lots to say. I've got a press release to share with you and lots of geeky contextualization type stuff, and obviously some smelling too. Eric says it was our LVMH overlords reminding us to be good. Yes, I wonder. Anyway, this is brand new from Dior. It's called New Look, and it comes under their exclusive collection privée, composed by current in-house perfumer Francis Kurkdjian. This is so déjà vu. I'm thinking, did I say this? Is this exactly how I said it? You're going to start thinking that I've got a script, which I very, very definitely have not got. What did I say in terms of context? So Kurkdjian joined, or Kurkdjian joined Dior as in-house perfumer a few years ago. He has yet to give us a sort of large mainstream release, a pillar so-called. He's given us one collection privée last year, Dior Riviera. One of the first things that he did was that he kind of tried to take his own Eau Noir back to what it was in the beginning, and he released it as a trio with Cologne Blanche and Bois d'Argent. So it's like he's still kind of teasing us, keeping us waiting. One thing that I should say as well, because I did genuinely want to share this. It was somebody, I forget who it was, in the chat for the previous video, pointed out that in a few weeks, Apple TV is going to start releasing the episodes from the new series that they've done called The New Look, which is meant to, I think, chart the stories of Coco Chanel, as played by Juliette Binoche, and Dior, and Balenciaga and Balmain as they redefine the fashion world in the interwar years or post World War II. I mean, I suppose it would have to be interwar years, wouldn't it, in the case of Chanel? So maybe that's why this has come out now. But we also need to remember that when the Collection Privée launched in the form that we know it now in 2010, we had another perfume called New Look, composed by François Demechy, except that one was called New Look 1947, and which refers to the year when Dior's own New Look fashion collection was launched. And that was a floral with a heavy emphasis on tuberose. So all of these things happening. So you've got the TV series coming out called The New Look. You have an older perfume called New Look 1947, which was a tuberose. And I can tell you straight away that this isn't a tuberose. But of course, if you manage to get to the 10-minute mark in the last video, that you know it's not a tuberose. We've got the kind of pressure on Kurkdjian, I guess, to convey what his signature is, what his style is going to be at the house. All of this stuff happening. So then let us respray and re-smell. Here we go. And I think it's worth repeating something that I said in the abandoned video, that I have smelt this before and I've also worn it. This bottle, the review bottle, arrived a few days ago and I unsealed it straight away because I thought I need to kind of smell what this is and what it's like. And I also wanted to live with it, to be able to compose semi-coherent, semi-articulate thoughts to you. And yes, the very first thing, the very first feeling that it evoked in me was one of surprise, and it still does. And having now read the press release in the ditched video, surprise is a word they use very often, because coming after Dior Riviera, which was a very, very green fig scent, coming kind of on the back of New Look 1947, I think the last thing I was expecting was a super aldehydic frankincense scent, which is what this is. It's very, very clean frankincensey, very unfussy, very uncluttered, very, very streamlined, very sharp, and also very cold, which is where the brand's description of it and I part company, because they are wanting to sell it as something that has a kind of warm, spicy base. Whereas I think, if anything, what makes it interesting is that it keeps pushing that chilly, cold, almost Cruella de Vil type effect, but in an attractive way. It feels like an air-conditioned incense, says Pradeep. Yes, and I noticed that you said that you were bored by this after 10 minutes, whereas if somebody said to me this is like an air-conditioned incense, I would be thinking, oh, that sounds interesting. We went off on a little bit of a tangent about aldehydes in what we will henceforth, I think, keep calling the ditched video. And what did I say? I said it's worth remembering in perfumery that we kind of use the term aldehydic somewhat inaccurately, but it's just become one of those terms that is a shorthand for a particular olfactory effect that we're trying to describe. So, and I'm very, very conscious of the fact that the things I'm about to say to you, I'm saying as somebody who is not a perfumer, certainly not a chemist by any means, but there are lots and lots of aldehydes out there that are part of the perfumer's palette. They tend to be numbered, and they do have quite markedly different scent profiles. So there are some that smell kind of strawberryish. There's one, the famous one, that smells peachy, although apparently that's the one that technically isn't an aldehyde, and so we're not really meant to call it an aldehyde because I think it's a lactone, but we've ended up calling it an aldehyde. Some of them smell like snuffed out candles, some of them smell waxy, some of them smell slightly citrusy, some of them smell piney, etc., etc., etc. But what seems to have happened is that when we say aldehydic, when we describe a perfume as being aldehydic, what we are actually referring to is the aldehydic opening of Chanel No. 5. And that is an aldehydic effect that is created through, I believe, a bouquet of 3 specific aldehydes, C10, 11, and 12. So when I say that this is aldehydic, I'm kind of very conscious of the fact that any perfumers or any chemistry experts watching this will probably be thinking, which aldehyde do you mean? Whereas what I'm talking about is that kind of sharp, bright, champagne bubble, sparkling lights feel that we associate with Chanel No. 5, except here it's a lot less about the lights and the bubbles and a lot more about the coolness, the iciness of the North Pole, and lights that are more like stars twinkling against a very, very, very kind of black night sky. Rachel says aldehydes are so complex, soapy, waxy, fatty, ozonic, and much more can all be present. And yes, sometimes the strawberry and the peach of the faux ones. Gavin says the opening of Chanel No. 5 is fatty aldehydes, I believe, which is what most people should use. David says, it smells like a cleaning product to me. What do you mean, this perfume? Then dries down into an amber similar to Gentle Fluidity from his own brand. Interesting. I hadn't made the connection with Gentle Fluidity, but I know what you mean. Yeah, I think, again, like Dior Riviera, it's turning out to be quite divisive, this release. Now, I mean, Dior Riviera, I think I ended up being not a massive fan of, just because I found its greenness a little bit too difficult to take. But I'm pretty sure one thing that we had got to before we abandoned the ditched video was that there does seem to be a kind of style that he is pushing forward with these two Collection Privée releases, and that is that they're quite stark. You know, the green, the fig in Dior Riviera was very, very stark, very bold, almost very bold as well, but bold not in the sense of innovative or original, but just bold, like, here it is, you know, this is a massive fig I'm giving you, take it or leave it. And this is a massive aldehyde and really a big chili frankincense. And again, it's got this feel of take it or leave it. And maybe that's what he's going to want to push in the Collection Privée. Maudlin says, could it be like the photos of the new look, the white jacket, the black pleated skirt, and the straw hat, very clean and clean cut? Maybe, except that was, you know, if we could sort of be stereotypical for a while, that was very kind of overtly feminine. I think in the ditched video again, sorry folks, I'd got as far as, I am going to read bits of the press release to you because actually it's a press release that makes a lot of sense, but it comes with this image of the bottle, and I think this is actually a really, really good image to go with this perfume because it's got the houndstooth, it's got the fabric almost kind of like radiating like rays of black and white, and then this burst of white, quite cold looking smoke. I think it's actually a very accurate image for this scent. Whether you like it or not is a different matter. Rachel says clear and structural, Apollonian. But I remember what you mean now from the other videos. So Algebrae says can't even compare to Superstitious. That is infinitely more complex compared to this banal amateurish concoction. But who's comparing it to Superstitious? Because they're not the same at all. I'm guessing you mean Frederick Maltz. I mean, Superstitious, okay, has got that kind of waxy aldehyde thing like Arpège, but then goes into quite animalic. Jasmine and, I mean, to me, they're very different scents. Anyway, let us check out the press release, and then we've got our pre-sprayed blotter as well. So it starts with a quote from Captain Kirk himself. It says, when Francis Kurkdjian arrived at Dior, he pondered on the profound meaning of the new look. Better than a legacy and more than just a silhouette, the new look is a state of mind. It provides a lens for observing and reinterpreting the world. This spirit and the power it holds have crossed time, and today they allow me to create new fragrances for Dior. So I guess that's their way of saying, look, we know there was a perfume called New Look 1947, but we're kind of moving on from that one and just taking the ethos of what the new look was meant to be all about. The Dior silhouette is everywhere today, the release goes on to say, on catwalks, red carpets, and in the street. It is brilliantly modern, revealing luxurious, minute detailing and the contemporary feel of its timeless design codes. With endless skill and originality, the Dior artistic directors add their signature to this precious heritage, revisiting its grammar and establishing their own visionary talent. And so on. It was on this page that things started getting a little bit more interesting because they're describing the scent itself. So, New Look is a perfume, it says, that wears its name well. It takes one by surprise. Well, it really did genuinely take me by surprise. I wasn't expecting to smell what it is. And it does not behave as expected. Like the new Dior silhouettes that are supple yet structured, there's that word again, Rachel, its fragrance trail mingles rigor with a relaxed style and absolute luxury with comfort. Instantly elegant, and I'd agree it is pretty elegant, it nevertheless avoids all the pitfalls of fussy ostentation, which I would also agree with. It is, you know, it's really, really uncluttered. It's like kind of getting back to basic principles, to key principles. I'm quite fond of it. I'm quite fond of it. New Look possesses a silhouette that is defined by elegantly layered olfactory raw materials, where frankincense plays a dual role, conveying uniquely effusive freshness and mystical accents. Its heart is draped in an ethereal and soft sensuality that embraces the body and weightlessly supports the structure in combination with a deep and warm amber accord. And that's, like I said, where we part company, because I don't consider it to be warm. And in fact, I quite like the fact that it hasn't gone down the route of, Serge Lutens, Ambre Sultan. It's, if anything, it's kind of like a chilled balsam or chilled resins. That, I think, is the perfume's main strength. But maybe this is where the marketing department got in and said, whoa, 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 guys, we can't say it's cold because cold doesn't sell. Is it like Orpheline, says Yogo80? Now, that's an interesting comparison. And I hadn't thought about L'Orpheline from Lutens. That's got that kind of herbal fougere thing happening. But yes, if you think about that kind of forlorn quality of Orpheline, you do get echoes of it here. The composition is crowned by astonishment, it says, as a remarkably fresh, overdosed aldehyde cleaves to the effusive facets of frankincense, increasing its radiance and adding mystery, concluding this entirely unforeseen story. It symbolizes the allure of this new look, shining from the top notes through to the base notes, like a unique signature that imbues the fragrance with lasting, distinctive audacity. Not quite sure what that means, but never mind, we'll let them have it. With its powerful and masterful structure, New Look is a distinguished perfume whose olfactory impact arises from the contrast between a supple amber accord and a soaring aldehyde. Once unfurled, it falls like a fine woolen fabric over the languid amber. In this way, New Look celebrates a fluid and elegant line in perfect synergy with the current Dior spirit. And they just sort of give 3 notes. They say the top is aldehyde C12 MNA. Again, if you do a little bit of research, you'll find that there are 2 that actually have the number 12. There's this one called MNA and one called Lauric. And apparently MNA is slightly less fruity than the Lauric one. And then frankincense extract as part of the middle notes, they say, and white amber in the base. And this is, I haven't read this quotation, but it's from Captain Kirk, and it says, "For me, la collection privée." So let's find out what he says. "For me, la collection privée embodies a unique field of expression linking the couture and perfume universes closely together. Because at Dior, one cannot exist without the other. More than ever before, the idea of being a couturier perfumer, as Christian Dior liked to define himself, is extremely meaningful. The structure of a garment mirrors the composition of a perfume, and the flow of a fabric reflects the constraints of raw materials. Each new creation that I compose explores the history of our house, its imaginary worlds, its values, and the aesthetic codes of its heritage, transposed into our era." Okay, so it kind of says something and sort of doesn't. I was hoping maybe he would say, "For the collection privée, I will, I aim to," but yeah, I come back to this. That is this perfume. Black and white, sharp, burst of smoke. But maybe what the image doesn't quite convey is that it tends towards the quiet side. Okay, it's quite close to the skin. It's so anticlimactic, says David. Well, I'll keep smelling it. One thing that I also said in the ditched video was that I'm kind of pleased that this has come out as early as it has, because I don't understand it fully. I don't get why it had to come out now. I don't get why it has to be an incense, but I'm intrigued by it and drawn into it. And so I'm glad that it's come out months and months and months before I have to start thinking about lists and considering what the best perfumes of the year might be. But I find it very, very attractive. Extremely easy to wear. But I guess my question is going to be, for how much longer is it going to hold my interest? I'd really love to be able to get a quote from Kurkdjian himself as to why he thought that incense would be the way to convey the idea of the new look, or the new look as it might exist in 2024. But it is intriguing. What are you folks saying? I just smelled Don Delay last night for the first time. Oh, that's from Lutens as well. Has that one gone, by the way? The name should have been Toile, says Maudlin. That would have made sense with what they were going for. Gavin says, "I feel this perfume goes with my outfit for today." What, this one? You think? Maybe. I don't know. It's too many colors, I think. It's got to be just black and white, or just white. Orisiro says, "I like it. It is odd, but I appreciated the dry down." Pradeep says, "It's more like a Prada or a Diptyque. That's the issue for me. I was bored after some time." Well, fair enough. Tracy P says, "Is it a fragrance of a journey foretold? Is this the tone going forward for MFK at Dior? Who knows? Who knows?" And he is keeping us waiting as far as a pillar goes. David says, "Is Francis Kurkdjian's take on H24 done poorly?" That's an interesting comparison because I hadn't thought of the H24 thing. See, I don't think of H24 as being incensey. To me, it's what is H24? There's a flanker of H24 coming soon. I haven't smelt it yet, but to me, it's just got that kind of glass-like, chilled, fruity quality to it. And of course, that sclarine note, and so that I sort of see as being metallic. But I think I know what you're saying, David. Is it's like, you know, did Kurkdjian want to create a similar kind of effect or go for a similar kind of vibe with this new look? Who knows? Who knows? But anyway, I think we've made it to the end of this broadcast. Really, really, really sorry, but even though I had wanted to do another one with you today, there's not going to be time now. But I will take a look at the old diary and the old schedule and see if maybe I could do it tomorrow. But as soon as I have worked out whether I can or not, I will let you know. Apologies for the mess up. I still don't know what, if anything, I did wrong. I guess it was just a YouTube glitch. But thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we will be able to come back very, very soon. Anyway, until then, take care. Bye now.